again, and welcome to the Author Roundup. This special segment of the Book Connection Show showcases emerging indie authors who join us for a discussion of their newly published books. Join us for a conversation with our next guest author. Hi there, welcome to Author Roundup. I'm Emma, your host for today's episode. I have with me self-published author Aunt Mimi to discuss her debut book, Motion of the Ocean, A Bedtime Story. Aunt Mimi is a member of the SCBWI, graduated from Arcadia University after 31 years and lives in Huntington, Pennsylvania with her husband, Jerry. She loves spending time with her children, grandchildren, and many nieces and nephews. Hi, Aunt Mimi, how are you today?
Hi, I'm fine. Happy to speak with you.
Yeah, happy to have you here. Thank you for joining me. So your book came out in May of this year. Can you tell us about your children's book?
Yes, I'd love to. Most of my children's books are in rhyme, and they're beautifully illustrated. Motion of the Ocean, my debut book, was illustrated by Meg Alkenbach. And the illustrations are so vivid that a child who really can't read yet can probably go through the illustrations and almost be able to tell the story without the words. However, I do repeat a lot of the words. For instance, since everything rhymes, I might use grand, grand, grand at the end of the sentence, and hopefully children will learn from the repetition of the words. So not only will the pictures tell the story, but they might find themselves reading easier. Motion of the Ocean is a bedtime story, and I'm hoping that it will make children sleepy from the waves of the ocean, kind of lull them to sleep. They are almost like a lullaby of the swishing sound that they make, and the rocking back and forth is almost like a cradle. But the story itself is about a boy who's 5 years old, and my books are usually from ages 3 to 7, and somewhat beyond, it depends. Sam wakes up on his 5th birthday, and there's a great big box on his bed, a birthday surprise. And when he opens it, he finds things for the beach where he has never been before. So he realizes he's going to the beach. And when he gets to the beach, the story is told through his eyes, which is really wonderful because the splendor of the ocean is fascinating and the beach is wondrous to him. And it's a very happy story. I think children will enjoy how happy that Sam is to see the beach. So basically, that's the story. However, you don't know yet what things are going to happen on the way home and whether Sam has any more surprises or not. And you'd have to read the book to find out exactly what the end entails for Sam.
Okay, very cool. Well, I love how intentional you are about your book and the repetition and the imagery and things like that. It's nice that you thought about that and how children will perceive a book when they're reading it. And from his point of view, I think that's really cool and interesting. What sparked the idea for Sam's adventure? Was it inspired by a real child or a personal memory?
Both, actually. When my grandsons were little, I was fortunate enough to be able to take them to the beach, and they absolutely loved it. I think it'll be one of their favorite memories of all times. They loved the ocean. Again, they were mesmerized by why does the ocean go in and out and in and out? What makes it do that? But aside from that, all of the beautiful things on the beach, the sand, the water, the fish. It was just a wonderful experience. And I have never forgotten it, and they have never forgotten it. So I wanted to write a book about the beach for other children, so they can also enjoy the experience. Even if they have never been to the beach, perhaps through my book, they can uh, somewhat feel it. And for those children who have been to the beach, to just bring back a wonderful memory. But it was an actual event, my taking my grandsons to the beach, at around the age of Sam and somewhat younger. Um, and even now they still love the beach, excuse me, and they are in college. Uh,
Oh,
and the pictures that I took remind me of the photos remind me of the beautiful illustrations and the vivid colors and so forth.
wow. Wow. Yeah, there's something about the beach and the ocean that is just like I feel like kids love. Like it's like all of the senses in one. It's not like super overstimulating. It's just nature based. Yeah, there's just something about the ocean that kids love, the sand.
Well, it's a natural phenomenon,
Yeah.
and it's one of the beauties of nature. Even the birds flying close to the beach,
Yeah.
it's the animals, it's the water, it's the sand,
Mhm.
it's the experience the first time you step on the sand.
Mhm.
There's a verse in there about how Sam thinks he's sinking in the sand because his first time barefoot stepping on it, and then he loves it and it tickles his toes and he's happy and funny and laughing.
Yeah.
And I want my stories to make children happy and
Uh-huh.
smile and laugh and enjoy. And that's, one of the reasons that I had this experience. So I knew to write this particular verse about Sam sinking. Um, so that's, is definitely a wonderful memory and a true experience.
Yeah. And so the book captures many details, like seagulls and yeah, like the feel of sand and dancing waves. How did you decide which sensory details to include to make readers feel like they're actually there with Sam?
Well, I do go into a lot of detail, but I also have to credit my illustrator again. Um, I chose, for instance, one of the things I remember the boys loved was the tractor. They couldn't get over, children love, well, especially at that age, they love mechanical things like cars and trucks and toys. They loved the tractor and were fascinated how it picked up the debris on the beach. And
Mhm.
so that was included, but also just about everything I could think of that really came to mind was, for instance, the banners that the planes over the beach were advertising.
Mhm.
And my illustrator, instead of doing an advertisement of that, one of the planes in the sky, she put "Happy Birthday, Sam" on the ad
Mhm.
portion. So there were the birds, there was helicopters, there was planes, there was a kite. Um, these were just, just about everything that you would think of when you were on the beach, the shovels, the seashells, the castles. So it was nothing in particular. It was just an overview of what the beach looked like, the umbrellas, the the children digging in the sand. And so it wasn't really a hard decision because the scope of the beach was captured. And even as I said, the seagulls were flying low, which they do as they try and scavenge for food and annoy everyone.
Yeah.
But so it wasn't one particular thing. It was just
Yeah.
a basic overview. And again, my artist was able to help me with that by sometimes doing a double page. Uh, but the very, very colorful and vivid pictures of all of these things. So it was multi-task rather than just one or two items.
Okay. And so, is that something that you think should be included in children's books more? Maybe more attention to sensory imagery and details?
Well, I do because I know that one new concept was wordless books,
Uh-huh.
where simply the pictures, described the activities. Um, but I do think that since people are very visual minded, that there should be as much as possible without getting overdone.
Yeah.
Um, the true vision, as I said, Sam tells this story and he's very excited. And it's not just one thing, but the book, each stanza describes what he sees through his eyes.
Uh-huh.
So um, the vision would be quite large, but not overbearing. So through his eyes, he saw all these things. Again, he's seeing them for the very first time.
Uh-huh.
So that's adds to the excitement. And I don't think if the illustrations weren't as precise and vivid, um, I don't think that it wouldn't have been as effective without, you know, overwhelming a child's brain. I
Yeah.
think that it's all taken in through the eyesight. So it is very visionary. And I think, having the right illustrator uh, really added to the success of my message.
Yeah. And how was it working with your illustrator? Because your book is very colorfully illustrated. Um, how did you work with your illustrator to match the words with the vision and capture that same sense of wonder? Was that fun to work with an illustrator? Did she have like a sort of vision from the beginning too?
Yes, she's incredible. I looked through so many illustrators. Um, I checked out on the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. They have
Oh,
so many wonderful ways you can look up things. I checked and went through, and it was almost like, I guess, a new bride who finally puts on a dress and that's it. Um, I saw her illustrations, and it was perfect. I felt this is it. And it turned out she has two young children. I think they're around 3 and 5. So she has an inside idea of what children like. And um, I'm using her for my second book. In fact, she just told me that the sketches are ready, the initial sketches. Um, but the ironic thing is that without knowing this, she went to the same college that I did. Of course, she
really?
recently, she's young and I'm old. So we weren't in school at the same time. But
Uh-huh.
I thought it was interesting. I think all my English professors will be excited to know that we got together on this book, and I'm definitely sending them copies.
Oh, wow.
Um, but she just felt right. And she's also done some extra things, which of course I approved. One of I just mentioned to you, like the plane in the sky with the banner, which you see on a beach, all these advertisers, instead of putting a banner with an advertisement that would mean nothing.
Mhm.
She wrote Happy Birthday, Sam, which is one of the extra things that I love so much about her. Um, and she also put a little dog in. Sam has a dog.
Oh,
Obviously, he has no siblings, now no brother or sister. So the dog kind of is on the beach with him. And it's funny because the dog is kind of doing what Sam's doing when Sam's eating a sandwich, the dog's eating. It's just really funny and amusing. And again, I just want children to be happy, kind, find a place where they can go and just find comfort. And I want my books to leave a child smiling. To me,
yeah.
that's the most wonderful thing. These little innocent boys and girls. The world is a tough place now. And if they can find inspiration in a story and they can be happy and enjoy it and learn from it, these are all things that I love, and especially getting them to read. So,
Yeah.
these are all wonderful things that I
Yeah.
hope to accomplish.
Yeah. And so you said you're working on a second one too?
Yes, my
Yeah.
second book is finished. It's with the illustrator. I'm hoping it'll be out um, probably by April of next year,
Uh-huh.
maybe even a little sooner. It's called Charm of the Farm because my books are mostly all written in rhyme. This is a very funny story. It's about a rooster named Curly, who roosters are supposed to wake you at a precise time in the morning to wake all the farm up. Unfortunately, Curly gets very confused. He
Oh,
wakes everyone in the middle of the night. And as a result, the animals are very cranky, miserable, fighting with each other, tripping over things, so overtired. And I'm sure children can relate to being woken up for
mhm.
school or being overtired. Problem, visiting day is approaching. And this farm is supposed to be charming. So the farmer has to find a quick way to get Curly back on track. And you have to wait and see what the farmer does. Will
That's
he
cute.
get this done in time? And so that's basically the story, but it's very, very funny. And it's you have to wait and see what happens, and if there is a solution, what is it? What did the farmer do? And then the reverse is, the attitude of the animals once they've had a good night's sleep. So in a way, it gives you a little kind of a lesson here. If you have a good night's sleep, you act and you think better.
Yeah.
Um, but it's very, very cute. And there's 8 animals, and my illustrator is specializes in animals. So
Oh,
I expect it to be spectacular.
oh, that sounds lovely. That sounds so funny and cute.
Mhm.
I love like the intention you have behind like getting in the minds of like children. Like you talk about kids can be overstimulated or if they have to wake up or like for school, like especially with Sam, like when he drifts off at sleep at the end and creating that intention of making it a bedtime friendly book that helps kids wind down after, an exciting day. Like I love the way you thought about those certain things.
Well, I do have 2 more books in the works,
Oh,
um,
nice.
but I'm working on them now. And one of them, one of them is called The Child's Guide to Parenting. And it's all about
Cute.
a child who tries to explain to his parents why he's expecting a new brother. And it's how they are going about it wrong, trying to tell him how it's going to be. And it's very, very funny,
I
very
love
funny.
that.
Um, and the other one that I'm working on is called um, Bonnie Lonnie Boo. It's about a terrific girl who has high aspirations. She wants to go to the moon. She wants to be president. She's definitely a woman of the future, and that's a mystery. But these things, except for Child's Guide to Parenting, are in rhyme. So that's on the future. I think, though, what my interest is for children's books, what I've learned over the years, um, I call it read and write. I think when you read to a child, which I did again to my nieces and nephews and to my own children and so forth, um, I think it's important that as you do your draft and as you continue on, that you read it to them in the works. And one of the things that happened was when I was writing another book a long time ago, I read it to my children, aunts, my nieces, my nephews, and the main thing I heard was, Mimi, it's too long. So
Mhm.
I think that you have to remember you're writing for children. They are your audience. They are the best people to give you advice no matter how old they are, because you need to speak to the children who you're writing for me, age 3 to 7. So I would say reading and writing is very important. And that's basically it. You need to know your audience.
Audience, yeah. And so Sam's first time at the beach, firsts are for children very compelling stories. Why did you think children's firsts made such a compelling story?
I think that all of us, if you experience something for the first time, it's extremely compelling. And I think for children, like maybe they're 2 years old, they might not remember everything.
Mhm.
But I think at a certain point, they do remember.
Uh-huh.
And as I said, I want it to be a memory that is happy for them. In essence, in a bedtime story, sweet dreams. Um,
Mhm.
I there's so much going on in so many households where there's not a nice environment for children.
Mhm.
Um, so I wanted it to be something that they will remember. I think a 3-year-old would remember a trip to the zoo, perhaps.
Mhm.
But a trip to the farm, and in this case, a trip to the beach. So I wanted to be something that they can look back on it. And as I said, another thing is I want them to start to love reading because I think that's so important. And Harry Potter was a good example of it helped children who never read before to really start to love to do that. So to me, I believe that if it's written the right way, and if the pictures hold their interest, they'll do what my children did. Whereas after I shut the book and it's over, they say, again,
Uh-huh.
again, again. And how many times you wanted to put them to bed? No, again, again. And they wanted to turn the page. So I think that with the right audience, which is the right age, they will remember this. And whether they've had the opportunity to been to the beach before, I hope it relives a wonderful memory for them.
Mhm.
And again, just thinking about it makes them smile. And
Yeah.
for a child who's never been to the beach, I hope through the pictures and the words that maybe they can feel that they've been there. Perhaps a child who doesn't live near an ocean, who's never seen the ocean. Perhaps a child whose parents can't afford to take them to even a public beach for whatever reason. Um, I just want them to be uh, so aware of the story that they want to hear it again and again and again. And thus it'll be not only compelling, but a childhood memory that will be a happy memory.
Yeah.
That's what I want for our children. I want them to be happy. And I don't want them to, never have experiences that can open a new world to them.
Mhm.
I want them to expand their horizon through reading and loving a book so much that maybe they want to go on to the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, there's so many things that a little, toddler hasn't experienced yet, and reading really creates a whole new world for kids and piques their curiosity, something just as simple as the beach if they've never been. So yeah, I think that's really cool that you have that intention as well as far as children and reading and the world that it creates for them too. Um,
Mhm.
so I mentioned earlier that you're a part of the SCBWI. So that is the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. Can you tell us about that? How you joined that group?
Yes, I had a course back in college for writing for children. And I had been doing research as I started writing books. I never got into publishing them because I had a very compelling job, very big job. And also at the time I was a single parent And I wasn't ready to go back to school. But when I went back to school and I had this class, I actually told one of the professors that I was a member of this society, which, as
Oh,
I said, even though I couldn't register for school till I wanted to wait till my son went off to college. Um, but I joined, someone else, someone who had written a book told me you should really get involved with this organization. They had conventions twice a year in Los Angeles and New York. So I joined and I went to my first convention in New York. Since then, I've probably been to 10 conventions. COVID stopped a little bit, but I keep up with it. I recently they did Zoom sessions for their convention in Los Angeles, and
mhm.
it's a marvelous, wonderful organization. They help new writers. They help um, old writers to keep up with things like books online and things like that. But at the convention, they have uh, successful writers who tell, different things about what it means to be a good writer, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. They have a panel that you can read your manuscript to,
Oh,
and there's either an editor there or an agent there at the table or a publisher. Um, and if they like your book, they can tell you, but they give you uh, information on what they think about it. And also, usually it's a table of 8 with one of these editors or so forth, and they're your peers. And they basically also give you information if you want to read the manuscript. So it's a wonderful tool for learning. They guide you in the right direction. Um, they give you so much advice. They also have like an Eastern chapter. They encourage you to join groups. In the Eastern chapter, they have a place in the Poconos where they also have all kinds of uh, like writing sessions and all kinds of classes. And
wow.
um, if you're a member, usually these are free. The conventions are not. I never went to the Los Angeles convention because I live in the East, but I did for like 10 years go to the one in New York City in February.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
although I haven't attended, like I said, they give you the opportunity to go on Zoom after the convention, and they also give you the names of the speakers and the people who will be at these round tables, and they even give you a pitch opportunity. So, and they have their own bookstore. So it's a wonderful way to network.
Uh-huh.
Um, Everybody is friendly and they're from all over the country when you go in person. I hope to go back and maybe New York if they open it up again. And I would recommend it so highly. It's a wonderful organization with a phenomenal reputation, and it's the best learning tool I've ever had. I'll give you an example. One thing I learned from someone, even though I write and rhyme, because I still feel children love rhyme. Someone I met from California, I had written a book and I was calling it something about, I mentioned the shore. And she said to me, in California, we don't know what the shore is. We call it the beach. And she said, people are going to be confused if the book goes in toward the west. And I mean, just that maybe minute little tidbit of information was important because it made me realize that not everyone all over the country has these little tidbits of information to share. And then I also learned that even though an editor might love my book, um, when they go to their marketing department, if that book is up against another book, that can be interpreted in all different languages, they may choose to pick the book over mine simply because of money, because marketing is very important. And I can't rhyme a book in French, which in French book is livre. So obviously my book would have to be rewritten.
Mhm.
And they said if they liked the book, they'd ask me to rewrite it, and then it could sell internationally. But these are all little hints you couldn't necessarily learn staying home and reading a book on how to get published. So
Yeah.
you're learning from the best in the industry, the really they have the most phenomenal speakers, the most successful, and it's a wonderful place. I would so say anybody who wants to write needs to belong.
Nice. Well, that's such an interesting and fun resource. Do you think it gave you the confidence to publish or, you know, feel like you're a real like children's book author?
Well, I've been a member for so many years, and it did. It absolutely
Yeah.
did. It not only gave me confidence, but it made me realize what a learning tool it was. Just
Yeah.
aside from the workshops they have at the conventions, listening to published authors and hearing their tricks of the trade and hearing their success stories and
Uh-huh.
how many times it took them to be successful. Again, I'll refer to Harry Potter because we know that Harry Potter's author was turned down so many times before someone finally picked it up. Um, they you know, they are just incredible. And it helped me not only to get my confidence, but it helped me. I mean, they even publish free to their members. I just got it a list of publishers that they recommend. Uh, uh, all kinds of updated information, how to publish, how to self-publish, how to what's important as far as what's selling in the market. Yeah, so obviously, that was definitely important. And I
Yeah.
think it not only gave me confidence, but it gave me the most important thing was the information that I needed to go with somebody who was reputable. And
Uh-huh.
there's so much to learn, especially in self-publishing. And
Uh-huh.
the publisher that I use, Archway, is a division of Simon and Schuster. And so hopefully if I sell enough copies or they hear about it, they might pick it up as well. But I think, just from meeting these people at these conventions, it gave me more than confidence. It gave me
Yeah.
a
That's awesome.
tremendous education that you
Yeah.
get elsewhere. And
Yeah.
even the, this the course that I took in writing for children, my professor and a couple of my classmates actually went to a convention in New York, and
Oh,
that
nice.
was wonderful as well.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So when did you start writing your book? This book?
I wrote this book probably about a year ago. I finally
Okay.
retired and I had graduated from college, and
Uh-huh.
COVID had a lot of us working at home. And
Hmm.
um, I decided that it was finally my time without school and without a full-time job that I wanted to go back to things I had written, little notes or scribbles, and
Yeah.
I wanted to publish. And all my family kept encouraging me, it's your time now. So it took me about a year to write it because there's so much revision and over I would, change it and have different ideas. But I would say it took me about a year. And I think one of the best things was after I got published, and it was on Amazon, I read some of the reviews, and the reviews were very, very positive. Um,
Uh-huh.
and I have to say, one of them was so beautiful. It said my piece was peaceful, poetic, full of heart.
Mm.
Another one said my story rocked. But the
Uh-huh.
best review I've had was from someone that I knew through a friend, and she's about my age, still working, and she's been a children's librarian in New Jersey for the very longest time throughout her career. And she is an exceptional person, and she teaches a, as I said, she's a children's librarian. But she told me that she heard about my book from her friend, and she has a group of children, I think it's ages 2 to 8. And she said once a month, they call them pajama babies, the club. They read them a story at night, a bedtime story. And she
Uh-huh.
said, in particular, over the summer, she wanted a story about the ocean. So she said, I must have your book. So she ordered my book. I was going to send it to her, excuse me. But she said no, she didn't want to wait for the reviews because they change the cover when the reviews come out. She said, I just want the book.
Uh-huh.
About 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from her. I want you to know, she said, I read Motion of the Ocean to my pajama babies. And she said, they loved it. And she
Oh.
said, I loved it. And she said, I think it's one of the sweetest stories I've read in a long time. And I said, well, I think you're just being polite because and I appreciate it. I said, but I also, anything you have to tell me to help me become a better writer, your audience is exactly the audience I write for. And I value their opinion so much and yours. And she said, I'm telling you the truth. She said,
Oh.
I wouldn't have called you if it was negative. She said, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed seeing them so happy and enjoying the story. And she said it just happened to be perfect because it was a bedtime story, and I'd hoped in the summer I could get a summer story about the ocean was perfect. So
Yeah.
then I called the friend who was friends with her, and I said, I think she's just being kind. And she said, no. She said, she is not going to be kind. She said, she's the most truthful person I've ever met. She has more integrity and character than anyone. And she said, I guarantee you, she would not have called you if she thought it was something negative. So to me, that's like, I am so excited because that was the audience. Even though these reviews who come from adults were wonderful and positive and appreciated so very much. But again, as I had said earlier, it's the children. I want to
Yeah.
hear them. Their voice is the one I write for. And so this particular review was the best one to me.
Not to mention that she's a children's book librarian and that she's reads so many children's books, and the fact that she said that about yours is like really, really sweet.
Right, and I
Yeah.
didn't really know her personally.
Uh-huh.
She's a longtime friend of mine. And again, yes, she's a children's librarian. So not only was it important to me to hear what the kids had to say, but more,
Yes,
just as
it's
much
rich.
hers as,
Yeah.
pretty well educated in this particular genre. Um,
Yeah.
so
Nice.
it gave me the confidence that we were just talking about in you know uh, different aspects of writing. Uh, I think it was just like it just made me so happy to hear that they
Uh-huh.
enjoyed the story because that was my goal. And
Yeah.
coming from somebody who's been so experienced in this genre and telling me how it is. And when she even said it was the sweetest story, that made me happy too. Because
Mhm.
again, I don't want to scare the children, especially before they go to bed.
Yeah.
And I I just reach my audience. So
Yeah.
my own children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews are adults now. So and I'm going to give the book to a friend of mine who does have 3 children, ages 3, 6, and 8. And I'm asking her, I'm giving it to her actually tomorrow. And she said she will positively give me a true feeling how they accepted or didn't like the book. Um, Recently, someone I know, who's a celebrity, and I'm not going to mention names, they published a book, um, and Disney actually did the drawings and published it. And I got the book and I gave it to this same person who has the 3 children. And I said, it would help me if you could tell me what you thought of the book because I have my own opinion. And celebrities do get published these days. And, unfortunately, in the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, there are a lot of the members who don't like that because it is hard to get published and
Yeah.
it's based on the merits. Anyway, the children told their mother they didn't want to hear anymore, they didn't like it. And I had come to the same conclusion. Not only did I not like what was uh, written, I didn't like the illustrations. They were very
Hmm.
whimsical, but they were confusing.
Mm.
So you learn a lot too from, other people who have written. Um, and I'm just hoping that, my book will get to the readers that I want them to, and
Yeah.
they'll keep smiling and
Yeah.
forget it. And that's what I want it to be, a very beautiful experience for them.
Yeah. What advice would you give to a writer working on his or her first book?
Oh, yeah, that's a great, great question. And I kind of think like my theory of write, read, and write. If they're writing their first book, um, they have to target who their audience is. And
Mm.
let's say they're writing for a 12-year-old. I would, while they're in the writing, uh, in the uh, time that it's taking them, even from the beginning, whenever they have something sufficient that they've written, before they go beyond that, I would say if you can possibly read it to some 12-year-olds, get their impression. Are they interested? Are they excited? Are they scared?
Yeah.
What was your goal in writing it? If it was a science thriller, did it give them goosebumps? Um, or did they feel like they weren't interested? Or could they suggest to you
Yeah.
something, um, you know, recently I asked someone about their children when they've been going to the ocean a lot in the summer. And I said, even though my book's already printed and out there, I said, tell me one of the things your children love the most about the ocean. And she said, for the first time, they're older now, they love boogie boards. And had I known that, I would have included boogie boards in my story, which is already over 32 pages. So there's not too much I could have done. But that's my point. Your audience is the one who can tell you if they're old enough to tell you. Like my family, as I said, they told me it's too long. That a
Uh-huh.
child, even a young child, can tell you, and you can tell from their attention spans are usually shorter. So I would advise a new writer, children's writer in particular, to
Yeah.
reach out to your audience. And they can, just like your peers or one of the editors or agents at the conventions who are
Yeah.
experts, um, you can find out a lot from the audience that you're targeting. They are really going to give you an honest opinion. And maybe if they say, like they said to me, it was too long, I shortened it. And
Uh,
and then I read it again, and there was much more favorable comments. So a 3-year-old, they might, instead of saying again, they might say yuck. you know?
Yeah.
I don't like it, but, um,
They're very honest.
but those magic words are "gen," "gen," "gen." And so that my advice would be certainly join the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators without question. That would be the best best advice I could give, and
Yeah,
an equal advice to uh, reach out to your target audience while you're in the process of writing and see if
yeah.
they can produce some innocent comments that might be very worthy.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I haven't heard that advice ever throughout my interviews. And I think that's really good because I think a lot of the times writers just want to, find the inspiration, write it down and get it done so they don't have to think about, writing anymore and they just want to publish their book. But I think your advice is really good because kind of like testing like a product, you need to test your product before, it goes out into the audience because yeah, you want to see like what works and it's better to do it before the product is complete, right? So I think that is really good advice.
Yes, and I've learned from so many years of researching and belonging. I've actually belonged to that organization more than 20 years. I know I've gone to at least 10 of the conventions. That's my learning tool. It never stops. There's so much to learn. But I would definitely advise a new writer to join the organization and
Uh-huh.
to, if you can, you know, many writers don't write children's. That's not their genre, and they have a whole different attitude. Number one, they don't need an illustrator. There's no pictures in a regular novel for the most
Mhm.
part. And they really, if they're writing a memoir or just a sexy book or something like that, they may not want to share it with someone to get their advice. The words might just flow, and that's what they produce, and that's what they
Yeah.
enter. But for a children's book, you can, find another source. So between that and the organization and all that it offers, and there's so many things they offer outside the conventions, just how to self-publish, how to be a better illustrator, how to start a book. Um, so between the tremendous world of education you can get from the organization or just on the internet yourself trying to learn. And for us as children's writers, we can actually go to the source. And I think that they would benefit from doing both if they can.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
Mhm.
Well, I think that's all the time we have today. Is there anything else that you want to mention before we go?
Um, just that Motion of the Ocean is on Amazon by Aunt Mimi. And
Uh-huh.
I hope, as I said, to get it into the hands of children everywhere because I want them to shine. I want them to be happy. I want them to learn to be kind. In the book, Sam asked two children to play with him in the sand, and it makes him so happy. And the children are playing together, which kind of is another lesson that I wanted them to learn. And I remembered an anecdote from, uh, again, one of my grandsons asked a child to play on the sand, and he took the courage to go up to the child, and the child said no. And he was so depleted, and he came back
Oh.
to the blanket, and he looked like he was going to cry. And I said, "What's wrong?" And just then, the father brought the child to us, and lo and behold, he said his son was just so shy, he didn't know what to say.
Oh.
And they became friends and they played the entire afternoon together. Um, so again, I want children to realize that they can be friends with anybody, even somebody they don't know. If you're just kind and friendly, you can bring out the best in you. Um, so there's a lot of messages in books, and I
Yeah.
sincerely hope that my book will help someone feel better about
Oh, I'm
themselves
sure
as
it
well.
will. Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you so much, Aunt Mimi, for your time, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Okay.
As Aunt Mimi mentioned, you can purchase it through Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and also you can purchase it through archwaypublishing.com. We have an online bookstore there. You can purchase, and if you do, please leave a review. I know she would love that. And thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.